Good evening, everybody. This is a meeting of the Tinton Falls Borough Council being held March 15th, 2022. This meeting is hereby called to order. Would the clerk please read the open public meeting statement?
Pursuant to Section 5 of the Open Public Meetings Act, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by posting on the bulletin board at Borough Hall and by notification to the Asbury Park Press, the Newark Star Ledger, and the New Coaster at least 48 hours prior to the meeting and filing with the Borough Clerk, all on January 4th, 2022.
Thank you. May I ask the clerk to call the roll, please?
Mrs. Clay?
Here.
Dr. Dobrin?
Here.
Mr. Manginelli?
Here.
Mr. Nessie?
Here.
Ms. Buckley?
Here. At this time, I'd like to invite everyone to join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. There is one set of meeting minutes for approval this evening. May I have a motion to approve the February 1st, 2022 regular meeting minutes?
Motion. Second.
Thank you. Thanks for the second. May I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Clay?
Yes.
Dr. Dobrin?
Yes.
Mr. Manginelli?
Yes.
Mr. Nessie?
Yes.
Ms. Buckley?
Yes. Now we'll move on to reports, and we will start with Mr. Neff, our borough engineer.
Thank you, Council President. I just want to update on two projects. One is the borough's sidewalk program. Last year, we wrapped up with Fox Chase sidewalks. Tomorrow, our contractor, Your Way Construction, should be starting up on the Shrewsbury Ave portion. They're going to be starting at the south end at Sycamore and working their way north to Newman Springs Road, filling in the missing gaps and upgrading some of the ADA ramps. So again, they'll be starting tomorrow. It could go for about 5 weeks or so. They are going to be closing the southbound rightmost lane of Shrewsbury Ave. Police will be out there, but if you're heading southbound on Shrewsbury Ave, just be aware of that. You may want to take Hance if it's easier. Also, for our park projects, the contractor is going to be starting over at the Liberty Park Dog Park next Monday, hopefully. So that dog park will be closed for close to 6 weeks. They're going to be ripping everything out, putting in all new synthetic turf, new fencing, new lights, new dog amenities. So again, just be aware that the dog park will be closed starting Monday. That's all I have.
Thanks, Mr. Neff. And for those in the audience, that was part of the Monmouth County Open Space Grant that we got last year. So glad to see. Actually, we got a grant for both of those projects. Mr. Fallon, our CFO, for our next update.
Yeah, thank you, Council President, and good evening, everyone. Just a quick update on the 2022 municipal budget. We're currently putting the finishing touches on the mayor's 22 budget. It will be disseminated to council early next week. We expect to introduce that budget on April 5th. We'll do a more detailed PowerPoint presentation at that time. And the public hearing then would be expected to be the first meeting in May 3rd. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fallon. Mr. Tarafanko, RBA.
Thank you, Council President. No report at this time.
Great, thank you. Mayor Perillo?
All I want to say that today was a beautiful day, and I guess spring has sprung, and I look around and I'm glad to see people in the audience once more, so who knows? Maybe good days are coming ahead. I hope we keep the weather gets better, and that the people come to the council meeting means that they're interested in what we're doing here, and if they have any questions, they can always come here, and hopefully we can get their problems resolved. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Starkey, our Director of Law.
I don't have a report this evening. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Ms. Hutchinson, our clerk.
I do not have a report this evening. Thank you.
Great, thanks. Now we'll move on to council reports, and we'll start Mrs. Clay.
Thank you, Council President, and I do have a report. First, I would like to offer congratulations to Larry Reevy on the agenda this evening for retirement. So I'd like to thank him for his service. Secondly, I would just like to mention that Tinton Falls, we are getting an Engineering Excellence Award for Wardell Park, and I'd like to recognize Mr. Neff for that excellent accomplishment. Also, I would like to mention that Community Day will be back. We're looking at Columbus Day weekend, so save the date, and we'll keep you posted. And last, but not least, we had our first official Green Team meeting on March 8th. The Green Team agenda and our tasks are a lot more comprehensive than I first realized, and I'm very excited to be bringing this project along with our team and our council president to Tinton Falls, because I think we're going to accomplish some really exciting things. And also, I'd like to report that we've completed our first action as a green team. So that's exciting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Clay. Dr. Dobrin, for your report this evening.
Sure. Well, first I want to commend Sergeant Joe Lopristi, Traffic Control, for responding in a timely manner to a traffic incident a couple of weeks ago. The Tinton Falls residents in that location were very pleased about his quick response. An elderly Tinton Falls resident had asked me to thank the Tinton Falls police officers. She doesn't know his name, who this police officer is. I thought you'd find this interesting. For his consideration when a day after one of our winter storms, he was patrolling the area and saw her struggling to bring her trash can to the curb. And he stopped and he assisted her and brought that garbage can to the curb without, giving his name or anything. It's just a nice gesture. And of course, these two incidents are just small examples of our excellent police department. So I'm pleased to see our Chief DeLucia here at the meeting tonight. Welcome. And welcome all the many residents of Tinton Falls in attendance this evening. It's nice to see you all. As for my Tinton Falls Library Association report, efforts of the association continue to successfully seek and receive fundraising donations for their April 2nd fashion show and the Future Music Festival. And they're doing a real good job of getting some funds for the library. And that's it for my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Dobrin. Next, we have Mr. Manginelli for your report.
Yes, I attended a meeting of the Historic Preservation last night. They got a lot of interesting things going on. They're very grateful to the administration for the grant that they received. They're going to be working on replacing the porch. But this summer, starting May, almost every weekend, they got some good stuff going on. And if those of you have never visited, it's a very historic place, and they're very proud of what they do. So it was a very interesting meeting, and I suggest you visit the Crawford House. That's all I have tonight. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Mr. Manginelli. Mr. Nessie?
Thank you, Council President, and good evening, everybody. A couple updates. Planning Board approved additional variances for Soldieron's Gordon H. Manfield's veteran housing. Some of the small variances were sign positioning and increase of flagpoles, nothing that raised any red flags to anybody on the board for the Planning Board. The March 23rd meeting is canceled, so the next scheduled meeting for Planning Board is April 13th at 7 o'clock. The Chicken Advisory Board is nearly finished with the pilot program application process to raise backyard chickens in Tinton Falls, and will soon be found on the Borough website. Our next meeting is tomorrow night here downstairs in Meeting Room A at 7 o'clock. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Nessie. For my report, just want to reiterate congratulations on those individuals retiring. And I will mention there is a Fort Monmouth Economic Revitalization Authority meeting, FEMERA meeting tomorrow night at 5, although there is nothing on there related to Tinton Falls, but I just want to mention that it's an open public meeting. And the next Tinton Falls Environmental Commission meeting is next Thursday, March 24th at 7:30. As with all Environmental Commission meetings, they meet in person at the Crawford House as well as via WebEx hybrid meeting. And we'll be having a presentation from a couple of neighboring environmental commissions on some activities they're working on that we can potentially partner on. So I'm excited about that. And I believe that is all I have this evening. All right, moving on, there are no ordinances for introduction or final consideration this evening. So that brings us to the open public discussion. May I have a motion to open the public discussion?
Motion.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
This is the time the public may comment on any topic of their choice. Please state your name and address for the record and limit your comments to 3 minutes. You can utilize the podium there in the middle. Before we do that, were there any written comments submitted prior to the meeting?
There were not.
Okay, thank you. If anyone in the public would like to make a comment, please go ahead.
So, good evening, everyone. Thank you for helping us out all these years, and certainly appreciate it. My name is Flavio Tamburi, spelled Tamburri. I live on 2 Galloping Way in the Willowbrook. I'm the president of the association. So, a lot of the people that are here to show you that we have an issue that we need help with. Some of you may know this already, others may not, but just to bring you up to snuff. First of all, we have had a lot of attempted robberies and some robberies of cars. We have had attempted break-ins as well as a break-in into the houses. Chief DeLucia has been very, very responsive. He's helped us out tremendously. But we know that based on the specific limitations and practicality, Chief DeLucia cannot bring a police force to pay attention only to us. So we are internally solving a number of issues, right? What is it we can do as an association, as members, and as well as homeowners? What can we do? We can do what Chief has presented, add more lights, get video cameras, do everything like that. So we're going to handle that part separately. What we're here today to discuss are 2 specific items. The first one is a simple one. The second one is somewhat more difficult, right? And everyone here is in accordance that we want to present this to you and make sure that you respond to us. And I know you will, and you will try your best to help us out. So the first one is that we have extremely poor lighting in our neighborhood. The lighting that is there, as you saw the engineer tried, right? I'm an engineer as well, so I can give you the lumens, right? But it's extremely low. It's incredibly low. So we have, 1, the lights should be upgraded. Upgraded in which way? 1, fix the ones that are broken. 2 are not working. We have lights on every corner. We can have 800 feet of street without a single light, right? So we have them on every corner and at the end of each cul-de-sac, okay? It was beautiful at the time because, you know what, it's new and la-di-da. But now since we're under the magnifying lens in terms of people from the outside coming to steal cars, which puts pressure on us, makes us very uncomfortable to live there, puts pressure on Chief DeLucia because, we're annoying him all the time, calling him, you're a great guy, but thank you. We are annoying you. So we need to do something. So 1 is we need upgraded lights. We need them replaced. We need brighter lights. We got to look into, if at all possible, to add lights. You can't have a street that's 900 feet or whatever it is, and I got all the topography, and I can bring you lumen reports, and I can tell you how long the street is, and ask you why there are no lights. So 1 is the lights. 2 is probably grease lights, right? We all pay taxes here. We're very good at paying it, so our input to the township. So that's number 1. Number 2 is it's very hard for the chief, even though we're mercilessly bothering him, to provide enough manpower to satisfy us or satisfying the township, right? We understand that basically the same number of police have been here for 25 years. And the population has increased tremendously. You now have a lot of new developments coming into this place, right? Do you want it to be known that your higher end developments are under the gun, that cars are being stolen and houses are being robbed? Is that what we want? So we need to do something, so I'm asking you to kindly consider adding police. I know that it means somebody's going to say, well, you're going to increase taxes. Maybe not, but we need something here, okay? So everyone here can say whatever they want to say. I've said my piece, but who do I contact with so that I can press the lights? Is that you, sir?
Thank you, Mr. Tanbury. I'll turn it over to Mr. Neff with regard to the lights.
Thank you.
If you want to hang for 1 second. So I jotted down 3 things. So broken lights, if the lights are out,
Yes.
that the residents can report directly online through JCP&L's website.
Okay.
If there are lights that are out, you can go to their power outage site and you can just report those by the address. We can look into it as well, but like I said, if you guys know exactly where they are,
Yes.
you can probably do it faster.
So what if JCP&L, how much time do they have to respond? Is it a day, a week, a month?
I don't know how long they have to respond.
So let's say that it's quick, it's fine. Let's say it takes a long time, then we come back and.
Yeah, we can reach out to their area manager. I'll
Okay.
mention it to him too.
Maybe I can contact you as well?
Yes, that's fine. And I've been speaking to one of your other residents
Oh, perfect.
as well.
Yeah.
Regarding the brighter, so the existing lights, you want them brighter?
Yes.
Okay,
The
I
foot
just-
candles are nothing.
We can look at that. I just want to make sure everyone's aware, like sometimes we do get complaints where those lights are right in front of someone's house. That person might complain that it's too bright and too intense, so we'll just have to look at that. And then as far as the additional lights, we have started the conversation with JCP&L regarding what that process would be. There is a cost for the borough because it's the underground lights. They can't just be added. Some developments have the overhead poles they can be added to easier because it is underground electric out here. There is a cost to the borough for every new light that's added, so that's just what the borough's looking into, what that
Is
would
there
be.
a standard for the lighting that you should have on the street?
There is not a set standard, no. The ordinance is rather vague, like many towns, when it comes to street lighting. It says to have them at the intersections in certain locations, but there's nothing saying you need X foot candles or lumens as a minimum, or that they have to be X feet apart, no.
So we'll sort through that, right? So later on, maybe you can give me a card or I can reach out to you somehow. That'll be great.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much for listening.
Thank you.
Sure, thank you. And with regard to the number of police officers, I know that Chief and Mr. Tarafranco are working on assessing that. I know there have been, or we're currently still down some staff from some retirements and so forth. So I don't know if either one of you wanted to make a comment at this time with regard to that.
Yeah, just like folks, when I met with you on March 1st, council members, if you didn't know, I met with the association as well as the residents of Willowbrook on March 1st, I think 2 weeks from today, or prior. We are down 6 guys right now, or 6 men and women from retirements. The town, the council, Mr. Telefranco, and the mayor are all for adding officers per our ordinance, which is 43 total guys, or men and women. So I'm excited. We're going through promotions now to promote and to hire. Mr. Telefranco and I have met extensively. We have changed some of our patterns that we've done in the past to patrol the whole entire town, but also concentrate a little bit on Willowbrook, because there has been some incidents there that we need to take care of. So I believe the residents there have seen a bigger police presence in your neighborhood, as far as all the other neighborhoods. But when we get full speed to 43-man department, we will continue to assess and go from there. That's all I can promise you. But you will still see a big presence in your neighborhood. And just like any neighborhood in our town, you'll see a police presence. And if you don't, then I've told the residents there, feel free to give me a call, because that's my job, to make sure the whole entire town is being patrolled correctly. Okay?
Thank you, Chief. I thank you, Mr. Tamboro. Yes. Hi, Mrs. Fama.
Hello, Nancy Ann Fama, 36 Gallant Fox Road, in the Willowbrook development. First of all, I want to say hello and thank
Hello.
you to all of our council members and administration. I think we have the best town in Monmouth County, and I want to thank you. I know it's a lot of hard work. When I moved here about 20 years ago, I saw a lot of addition to the town of Tinton Falls. They developed Willowbrook, Greenbrier Falls, Trotters Point, Rose Glen. We had the outlets, we had Patriots Way, and we had roughly 43 police officers 25 years ago with 26 patrol officers. And now we're talking about a patrol strength of 43 officers with 28 patrol officers. I do very much appreciate what Chief has said and his willingness to work with us, but this is a crisis that we're going through right now in our town and in our state. With the addition of no bail and bail reform, and police officers not being able to pursue suspects that come into our neighborhood or any neighborhood and try to steal cars, we've handcuffed our police, and the bad guys are winning. I want to tell you a story about what happened to a family in our development. The thieves came into our development. They wanted to steal the car that I guess they had cased. They broke open the garage door. They stole the car. 2 months later, they came back to that house, the same house, when the owner and his family were gone for 36 hours. And they broke in the house. And they ransacked and stole from that family. Think about what that has done and the type of license that these thieves think they have right now. In another circumstance that happened a week later, we had 3 thieves try to steal cars from a driveway. The cars were locked. What did they do? They separated. 1 went to the front door, 2 went to the back. The homeowner was asleep on the couch with his girlfriend at 12:30 at night. They were 10 feet away, attempting to break in. They don't care. It's incumbent on this body to recognize that Tinton Falls has changed. Our state has changed. And I will tell you, this group of people, we intend to follow this through with our state legislators to try to get back some peace of mind and some security. So although I appreciate that we will have new police officers coming in, I simply will say to you that 28 police officers with 2 per shift in each zone, 2 to 3, is insufficient. And we would like to see, as a starting point and discussion during these budget negotiations, at least 4 per zone, in addition to what we have. So you have 2 to 3, we're looking 4 to 5. It's simple, okay? We don't know, we're not the experts. The chief is, your borough administrator is, your attorney is. But we are just residents seeing our town change along with many others in Monmouth County. There's a horrible situation that just happened in Shrewsbury last night, where they broke into the house. The woman thought her children were abducted because they wanted the car. They don't care because they're being let out in 3 hours' time, a half a day, and they don't care. They laugh at us. It's time to take it back, and this, we hope, will be the start of that in Tinton Falls, and I hope that we're the start of a groundswell in our state. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Fama. Appreciate your comments. Does any other member of the public have a comment? Oh, yep, go ahead.
Good evening, Susan Fisher, 38 Sire Stakes Drive, obviously Willowbrook. I also want to thank you all for your public service. It's not easy. I just got off of the Board of Ed, so I know how you feel sitting here and you're like, oh, how many people are going to still speak? I had my son's car stolen right out of our driveway, February 28th of 2020. The police showed up. They didn't seem to really want to find the criminal. We had easy pass proof where the car was headed. We knew it had hit the Union Toll. We knew it went through the Asbury Toll. Odd that they went from just off of 109 all the way down to South Jersey. So I wonder if my son's car that was stolen was the getaway vehicle from them stealing another car. But in any event, you know, when we questioned the police, and I spoke with Chief Scrivnick, or my husband did, you know, we were basically informed that this is a statewide problem. These are minors, so they're basically being released, no bail, that's not violent. Felt violent to me, and especially when I had to call my son and tell him that his car was gone. And it felt really violent when I had to buy him a new one, because it was my fault. But in any event, you know, we understand that the state has changed their rules. But is a town allowed to set its own rules with respect to ordinances that perhaps can sideswipe what's going on at the state level. And what I mean is, you know, perhaps an ordinance saying, if you touch a vehicle that you absolutely know is not yours, there's a $10,000 fine, and that's for the first offense. And if you touch it again, $20,000. And you know what? We're going to make it, you're a minor, we're going to make it stick to your guardians or your parents as well. If the state isn't going to put any bail up for these, what do they care? They're just going to come back and do it again. I'm terrified. We have the parkway. We can hear the parkway. People could come right up. It's so dark. If there's any evening it gets dark and my husband's not home, the alarm is on. That's not a great way to live. And, you know, the prices in our town, the home values are increasing. The schools are deemed to be very good. We want to keep that going. And that's not going to happen if, you know, second to Rumson and Middletown and Homedale were the most targeted towns. I mean, it's just something that we really need to prioritize. And I do want to commend the police department. There has been an increased presence, and it does help. I don't think we've heard of as many car jackings and car stealing going on, but, you know, the minute that they go to attend to something else, we're going to get hit again. And I also would like to encourage perhaps looking at technology. You know, maybe you can't fill a dozen more police officers right away. We do understand that there's budget constraints. But what about a technology solution where, you know, popular areas are being more likely hit, and there's just cameras and, like, literally one person, you know, round the clock watching it. I don't know. I mean, I just feel like technology could be offering a value solution. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mrs. Fisher. I don't offhand know the answer to the legal question around ordinances. I don't know if Mr. Starkey would want to comment on that at this time.
Yeah, we are unfortunately largely constrained in New Jersey by the state rules, the state government. The Attorney General sets guidelines, and it's a nice way, nice to call them guidelines, but they're not. They're requirements that we have to follow, and the penalty for violating falls on our police department if they violate those guidelines, chasing someone that they're not allowed to chase. So I don't have a solution, because there's not one, because the way the state has set this up. We can look at, and we will look at tightening our ordinances. Those are also subject to state review, and the state has overturned ordinances that they deem too onerous, too difficult, cost too much, impose too much of a penalty. We'll take a look at that, but I hear the concerns. It's just the state does not give us really any leeway on those fronts.
Okay, but we'll take a look at the ordinances and see if there is anything that we can
I'll take a look
do.
and see if, I think we're looking at all solutions. I'll take the burden and look at that one, see if we can figure something out on that end. I just, you know, within the constraints we have.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Mr. Starkey. Does another member of the public?
Hi, my name is Jay Earl, and I live on Haskell Lane.
Okay. Hey, Joe.
First person to move in 20 years ago. Lived in Tinton Falls for 32 years. Always liked Tinton Falls, so I just stayed. But since we moved into to Willowbrook, so I personally have been hit twice. Tried to break into my house through my walkout basement 10 years ago, and then I had my car broken in 2 years ago. You know, police were always very responsive, but, you know, to your point, especially now, there's not much that can be done. So, you know, while there have been calls for increasing the number of police and patrols, it doesn't matter if you put 200 police out there, they can't do anything. Your hands are tied, you know? It's And it drives the homeowner to the point, you know, I keep thinking back to where I grew up. I come from a rough town in North Jersey, and, you know, my father, along with others, you know, they just said, we got to protect ourselves, right? I don't want to do that. You know, I want to be able to, that's why we moved down here, to get away from that, right? You know, one of the frustrating things about Willowbrook in particular is it just seems like it should be easy to button that place up, because there's only 2 ways in and out of there, the front and the back, all right? I mean, I don't know what can be done. I mean, you just want to put a gigantic gate at both ends and say, you know, find your way through that. But cameras, I don't know what else you can do. But, you know, we're to the point where we're investing money in our own homes just to try to get it more secure. Cameras, dogs, you know, alarms, whatever. But, you know, and the frequency of these events is just becoming, you know, it was once every 5 or 10 years. Now it's every other month, it seems, that we're hearing this. The police presence has increased. They've parked right up at the end of my cul-de-sac, which is reassuring. But it's not enough. You know, and I'll leave with this. Those who are coming down to get our vehicles and break into our houses, they see it as easy pickings. That's why they keep coming back. Nothing's going to happen. Let's go back down for another party. One of the officers told me these are high school kids getting $3,000 a car. That's not bad high school money. Hope you can help.
Thank you, Mr. Earl. Yeah, sir.
Joe Farmer, 36 Gallon Fox Road, Tinton Falls.
Mr. Farmer.
A couple of comments. First of all, Mr. Starkey, it's not sufficient to blame the state. I understand our hands may be tied in many ways. It's time to push back. So I would like the town, and through our town's attorney, to start to craft some ideas to go to the state attorney general and say, something needs to be done. Your restrictions are too onerous. I felt in your comments that you feel that way, but I don't want you to throw your hands up and say, well, it's the state. I think Tinton Falls and other towns need to start to push back. Okay. In terms of additional police officers, while the hands are tied, and I really feel for the police officers all throughout the state, reacting after the fact to chase or apprehend under the restrictions we have is not the answer. Deterrence is the answer. Prevention is the answer. And that's where the additional police officers come in. I don't want to deal with this anecdotally. I want to deal with it empirically. So I'd like to know, I'm going to send a letter and request some information, and maybe you can tell me who to send it to. But I do want the exact number of police officers and specifically patrol officers that were budgeted 20 years ago. What the budget is now, which I believe for patrol officers has just been increased by 2 over 20 years. In that time, we've had Willowbrook and Tinton Village, or what is it, Village Falls, and the outlets, and Patriots Way, and Trotter's Point, and so many places that are generating property tax revenues for the town in addition to what we had 20 years ago. I don't believe the police department's gotten its fair share of those additional revenues. So I'm going to send in my letter a listing of these places, and I'm going to request what the tax revenues are from each of these locations that have increased the town's coffers in the last 20 years. My understanding is today, the police budget is about 40% of Tinton Falls' budget. Well, the town doesn't pay for schools, we do. Not the high school, not the elementary school. So I can't imagine a bigger budgetary priority for the town than the police department. Public safety should be number one, especially seeing how the town doesn't have to worry about public education. So I'd like to know who my letter of request should go to. Is it to Mr. Fallon, to the mayor, to the borough administrator, to the council?
Yeah, so you've actually asked for some items from the budget department, some items from the police department, so.
I would say I would go through the municipal clerk's office through an Oprah request.
And it should be, I need an Oprah request for that, Tom? I mean, I can't just send a letter and say, can you please provide this?
You don't need it if you
You know
want.
what,
Just
I'll rely
certain
on
timeframe
my attorney for that.
You could just send a letter, and your letter will be considered.
And who should I address it to?
To the municipal clerk.
To the municipal clerk.
Yeah, and then you can disseminate it to the different pieces of information to the different departments.
Okay. So I will get that letter out promptly. What I would like, before the May 3rd public hearing on the budget, is a response to that letter. So we have some time. You'll have it before the week is out. So I would like a commitment to try to have it responded to before then. In our development, the HOA, we've divided up into a number of committees to address our safety issues. I'm on the committee to document and request additional police officers. We will be doing that. We have spoken to each of the council members. We've spoken to the mayor. We've spoken to the borough administrator. We've spoken to the CFO. So we have a pretty good sense of who stands where on this. And I have to say the overwhelming response has been very supportive, and I appreciate that. So I think having some empirical data rather than just anecdotally would help the council members who really set the budget and the mayor to support and the borough administrator to support our request. Okay, so I will be sending to our borough clerk a letter that will go out before the week is out.
Great.
Okay, thank
That'd
you.
be very helpful, thank you. Is there any other member of the public that would like to make a comment at this time?
Council President, there was one thing I just left out before with the streetlights I just wanted to
Go ahead,
mention.
Mr. Neff.
Just so there's no surprises or, keep the expectations realistic. When we were talking to JCP&L about the streetlights, if the borough is able to do them, which we're still looking into, just so everyone knows, they said the earliest they would come is sometime in 2023. Yeah. So I just wanted that to be out there in the public for awareness. They've been receiving a lot of these requests recently, and with everything.
So, Mr. Neff, was that specifically with regard to adding lights or just any work?
For adding new lights.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it, thank you.
Yep.
I was going to say, it wouldn't take that long to change a bulb and make it brighter.
No, changing a bulb should not take that long.
All right. Yes, sir.
Hello, Steve Fisher, 38 Sire Steaks.
Hi, Mr.
Tinton
Fisher.
Falls. I'm an 18-year resident of Tinton Falls. I love this town. But I stand here and ask you, what will happen when a resident is hurt or killed over one of these instances? Any money that you're trying to save in the budget now will not pay to bring that person back or hurt the reputation of this township when no one wants to live here, no one wants to move here. So I ask you to put that in your thought process, because right now, as you saw last night in Shrewsbury, when somebody broke into the house, when people were sleeping upstairs, we had an incident, they ransacked the house trying to find the key fobs. Somebody's gonna get hurt, and that's not the time to react. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Fisher. Is that another comment?
Hi, everyone. I'm Chris Cooney from 2 Rollway Drive.
Thank you.
You know, we really thought a lot about a pragmatic solution and what could be like really effective. And, you know, I don't really think technology really plays a part in what we need right now. A lot of the cars that are being used are stolen, the plates are stolen, the criminals have masks on and do things to conceal their appearances. Everybody in the My Development pretty much has video cameras. Everybody has motion sensors in their houses. So these things have been so far ineffective completely, and the only thing that we've seen that actually kind of reduced a little bit of the crime was the police force. And I really think that's what we need more than anything. You know, my neighbors and I, we probably pay about $20,000 plus per house with 110 homes in our development. I mean, doing the math, it's 2.2 million and above. You know, so looking at the Tinton Falls budget, I feel like there's got to be room for us to protect ourselves and our families. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments? Okay. Good evening.
Jeffrey King, 24 Elizabeth Parkway, Eatontown.
Mr. King.
My home, when I lived in the Fruit Bowl on Plum Street, was also broken into, and the investigation was done by an excellent detective. And I feel like the police do a really good job here. I mean, I hear what's being said, and I feel for you, because I've been there. It was multiple times, actually, but I didn't come here to speak about that. I actually came to speak about your zoning ordinance that would allow for cannabis businesses. At the time that it was passed, I was here, and I did express my support for you and appreciation for your leadership on this matter.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like cannabis has been stigmatized with a lot of myths, misinformation, untrue statements, racism, and that was done at the highest levels. Testimony before Congress was reprehensible in the racist nature of it. It happens locally here too, and it's very distressing to be treated like a second-class citizen when we have 2 breweries in the municipality here, and we have multiple bars and places to buy alcohol and pharmaceuticals, opiates. We just had a settlement against Johnson & Johnson for millions of dollars because opiates are so dangerous. But I don't see anyone wanting to rescind the ability of adults to procure alcohol and pharmaceuticals here. So I don't know why cannabis is being treated differently when more people voted in favor of cannabis in this state than many, many of the politicians. Most politicians did not get 67% approval from the voters. So we should keep that in mind and remember that when we demonize cannabis and make rhetorical statements that are just absolutely not true, just kind of offensive, really, in their ignorance. I understand we're looking to do the best we can for safety, so why don't we embrace the regulated industry and take it out of the underground? Right now, people are buying and selling cannabis. It was delivered to my home for decades. I've been using the black market for decades, and I'll keep using it if you don't allow me to buy it and pay taxes on it. So it's just contrary to common sense, I think, to try to rescind this ordinance. I'd like to commend this council for the leadership and to stand up for what's right on that. If you've never been to a cannabis dispensary, I urge you to go. Some people have never been, and they don't understand what it's like. So if you haven't been, then maybe you should check yourself before you make statements that it will be given away to children for free. That doesn't happen with alcohol. That doesn't happen. That's just nonsense. I'm sorry. I'm trying to be respectful. I didn't hear about any of this during the campaign or during the whole last year when we had a subcommittee to work on this. It would have been nice to know where people stood before the election on this. So, yeah, I'm pretty upset about it. I was arrested for possession of cannabis more than once, and it affected my life in a really negative way. So people using flippant language on it, it's unacceptable. We're moving past that, and yeah, I was hurt when I read what was said here. So I just want to thank the people that have been friendly and supportive, and just make sure that you understand that that's how I feel. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. King. Appreciate your comments. Does anyone else have a comment they'd like to make? Okay. Hearing no further comments, may I have a motion to close the public discussion?
Motion.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Miscellaneous business, does any member of council have anything to add? Okay. Before we move to the consent agenda, are there any items any member of council would like removed to be voted on separately? Okay. Seeing none, may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Motion.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. May I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Clay?
Yes.
Dr. Dobrin?
Yes.
Mr. Manginelli?
Yes.
Mr. Nessie?
Yes.
Ms. Buckley?
Yes. Thank you, everybody. This brings us to the conclusion of our agenda. As there is no executive or workshop this evening, this meeting is now adjourned. Have a good evening, everybody.